John.
Oh,
Good
man.
morning, good evening, I should say. Hello, hello.
How are you, bro? I'm good. Good evening.
Nice to see you.
Geez, you're looking sharp.
Thank you. I mean, you always look good, and you've got this
I'm
beautiful
relaxed.
backdrop.
I'm relaxed. I've just got the dachshunds chewing a bone in the background and
How is
everything else good. How's the family, Nate? Everything good?
family as well? Thank you. How's your tiger?
Good. Yeah, really good. Really good. Yeah. Kelly's on her way home. We're just about to take the dogs out for a walk after this, so we'll have a nice end to the day.
How is Kelly doing?
She's going great. Yeah, really good. Thank you.
Yeah,
Really good.
good too.
What are we going to talk about tonight? What do you want to focus on?
I'm just gonna have a chat about. I'll get you to have a chat about. We'll talk about which I've been having conversation about. That what to do to not just survive the tough market, but come out of it better the other end or thrive, because you'd be the first one to say the best one would do well, and in order to become the best, what do you need to do? And then just to wrap up, just saying, talking about finishing the year off. How would you finish it? Finish this year off before we start the next year. We make sure we put a bow around this year. The way you start the next year, of course, but you do want to put a bow around this year. Wrap it and put a bow around it before you go away on a holiday.
Good. Two good topics. So what do we got? 20, 30 minutes, something like that?
20-30 minutes will be great. We've got
This is a podcast.
will be the podcast. I'll have a split of having it a podcast as the Real Talk podcast that we've been doing for a few years now, and you were the first guest, by the way, on in it, and then we've got the well, we're doing this training for agents as like, you like to give back to real estate agents in the community, and I've been doing trainings in the office, and I've also been doing weekly trainings called the Millionaire Real Estate Agents Blueprint. And what better to talk to my own mentor, John McGrath. Like, you've inspired me and helped me, mentored me, and been available for me the whole time. So I appreciate you, John. I really do, because I think the things you challenge me, you make me think bigger. So you're a great man.
Thank you, bro. Well, I feel the same. Our friendship is important to me, and I had a pleasure and a gift to have you in my life. So little things like this, you never have to even think twice about asking, mate. Anything you want's a pleasure. Okay, let's get into it, and we'll talk. It's about how do you kind of take the current market and make it into create an opportunity and thrive, don't survive, and then we're getting to the end of the year. How do we get ready? How do we maximize this year and next year? Beautiful.
Yeah. So we came off, like, the last 2 years has been like absolutely amazing, and you didn't need much skill to do good. All you need to do is get a listing. We are now, it's harder to sell, because the vendor's expectation is up here and the buyer expectation is down here. How do you navigate through such a market, John? I mean, you've been around for double the years that I've been around. What, 35 years, 36 years
in the industry? So I'm 59 now. I started when I was 18. So what's that? 31. Yeah, 30. No, 40. 41 years.
41. So almost double. Like, I started 18 as well, and I've been in this business for 16. So they got double the experience, and obviously legion of.
Not always the case. Sometimes it's double the years, but not double the experience. But thank you for your compliment anyway.
That is true. But obviously you're a student, just like the best of the best on the planet. Now, who better learn from than John McGrath himself? So the floor is yours, bro.
So we're going to chat about how do we go from surviving to thriving, right?
Yeah. Came off the got my license 2 years ago, for example, and I had that.
Yeah.
Okay, now I'm like stuck. What the hell do I do? Like, it's hard to get listings. The vendors' expectations high. What do I do?
So no, it's interesting, Nate, because I think a lot of people have entered the industry in the last few years, 3, 4, 5 years, and for most of that in Australia and New Zealand, it's been a fairly good market, I guess, for the real estate industry. And it'd be even fair. I don't think it's cruel, but it'd be fair to say that even order takers probably went pretty well. If you turned up in a nice outfit and you know, had a little bit of skill, you probably earned a very good living. And if you had a bit more than a little bit of skill, you might have even earned a fortune.
Yeah.
So I think it was Warren Buffett. Nate, you're good with these quotes and things. I think it was Warren Buffett said, you know, when the tide goes out, we'll find out who's been swimming naked. And I think the tide's gone out in terms of the market's changed. By the way, the market's still good. Australia and New Zealand, despite people feeling it's a tight market, would still be amongst the best two real estate markets in the world.
Yeah.
The only difference is it's changed a lot in the last year or two. So people are responding to the change. If you just arrived in this market and this was the only market you knew, you'd probably still say, well, you know, like I can still go, there's still buyer inquiry, and maybe my colleagues told me there used to be 30 people at an open for inspection and now there's only 6, but 6 is kind of cool. Like I can still sell to 6 people. In fact, I can only sell to 1. So any more than 1 in some instances is superfluous. So I think, yeah, the first thing, how do you shift from just surviving into a thrive mode? First thing is you've actually got to shift your paradigm or your view or your lens, your view on the world. And my view on the world is chaos equals opportunity. When the market goes into a fairly bit of a chaos mode, some people, they freeze, some people panic, some people go and hide out in a cave, metaphoric cave. Other people just, they change their belief. They think it's right now. I think if you're in the real estate industry, there's never been a better time in history to grow dominant market share and set yourself up for the next cycle, which will be around the corner. Yeah. And you'll be able to be twice as successful. So, you know, it was Chris Helder, one of our great trainers in Australia, and he said, you know, you need to equip yourself with useful beliefs. Now, is what I've said accurate? I think so. I believe it. But even if you don't, it's a lot more useful and valuable to you than thinking, oh, wow, it's a really crap market, so I've just got to hang on and survive for the next 2 years and see if I get through. That's a belief that you can hold, but it's a really bad one. So I genuinely believe that the chaos that's out there in the market at the moment is a great platform to set up on. Number one. 2 is we are finding out who are the order takers, who's been swimming naked, who was overpricing properties, who was not managing client expectations, who was not working hard with buyers. All the things that a great agent does, you know, in their sleep day to day, was not being done because you didn't have to. You could sell property just by turning up and handing out brochures and then arriving at an auction a month later. Yeah. So I think shift your paradigm, realize that this is a great opportunity. Stop saying, thinking, feeling it's a bad market, because it's not. So you might have to take a couple of extra weeks to sell a property, maybe an extra month. So you're not getting 30 people through the first open, you might be getting 6. Yeah. It's realistically, in other parts of the world, they take 2 years to sell some property, and if they get 1 inquiry a month, they're ecstatic. So let's just get real about the opportunity that exists for our industry for those that want to take it. Next concept that you and I have spoken about when we catch up in the past is inner market. Dr. Fred, you're one of your local New Zealand, Dr. Fred. So he talks about the inner market, which means the marketplace is between your ears. It's not with the Reserve Bank setting interest rates. It's not with the agent around the corner that's overvaluing or charging 0.5% commission. The market, the real market that exists, that you have to operate in every day, is the market between your ears. Your thoughts, your hopes, your aspirations, your mindset, your energy, your product knowledge, your connecting skills, all the things you have complete control over, which make the real difference. And yet a lot of people, Nate, are sitting there and they're saying, oh, you know, well, you know, the Reserve Bank dam will keep putting up rates and the banks are putting them up, and, you know, that's going to stop me being successful. And the guy across the road, he always tells the vendors 20% more than a property's worth, and he's only charging 0.5%. So in my world, my inner market, none of those things have anything to do with your success. Just because someone's charging 0.5% and you might be 2.5%.
Yeah.
The question is, do you add more than 2% value? Can you demonstrate the value? Can you explain how you add more value? Can you build such trust and rapport with a vendor that they just do what you say because they believe you and trust you? So all those things to me are the way to go. Do you have amazing marketing? 0 to 10, anything less than a 9.9 on your marketing is unacceptable. Mm-hmm. What is the quality of your negotiation skills? Anything less than a 9.5 is unacceptable. And yet most agents, I say, hand on heart, Nate, what's your negotiation skills like? 10 is the best on planet. You should be teaching the subject at Harvard. Most people say I'm probably a 6. And yet I look at that, Nate, and I think, well, this is your core. Well, this is one of your few core skills in this industry. And you're a 6 out of 10. That's like saying to Tiger Woods, 0 to 10, how good are you at putting once you're on the green?
Yeah.
And he says, I'm a 6 out of 10. And you think, well, man, you've only got to be good with, off the tee. I'm not a golfer, by the way, so please excuse me if I get it wrong. But, off the tee, and then, the next one to get yourself onto the green and then putting. And kind of that's about it. There's 3 or 4 things you've got to be really good at.
Yeah.
And in real estate, one of them is listing, one of them is prospecting, and one of them is negotiating, and one of them is selling the benefits of the property and the lifestyle and, being able to move people. So I say to people, don't look at the outer market, the outside market, the things that don't matter. Look at the things that matter. Give yourself an honest rating, 0 to 10, in a world where anything less than 9 out of 10 is unacceptable. And then go and work on those. Because guess what, Nate? You're not going to be able to change the guy across the road. I use the word guy or guys. It's got nothing to do with gender. It's just, I use the word.
Yeah.
The guys across the road that are charging 0.5%, guess what? You walking across the road showing disappointment ain't going to stop that. In fact, it's probably illegal. By you going across the road and saying, hey, Nate, you got to stop overvaluing property, man, because every time I follow you into a listing, the vendors are 20. You're not going to stop it.
No.
So you might as well forget it.
Yeah.
And just get brilliant. So when we're talking about pricing in the lounge room, in the kitchen, with a vendor, you have amazing dialogue that allows you to win the listing by not overpricing, even in the face of someone else who is overpricing. So these are all just skills, and I'm delighted to have you as a dear friend. And I know that you work every day on these skills, and 41 years later, so do I as well. I work every day on these skills. So I think you've just got to accept. We call it, Nate, extreme ownership. So if you want to get ahead, 0 excuses. Everything that you achieve or don't achieve is as a result of what you're doing today or what you did 30 days ago. Own it. Stop making excuses. Stop living life at a 6 out of 10 and shift yourself up to an 8, 9, 9.5, 9.9. And then you'll find your results will follow. I remember Matt Steinway, I think I told you the story during COVID, Nate, that when COVID came around, I said to Matt, I interviewed him on our internal podcast or our webinar, first day, because I decided as a company, as the head of the company that I would do a daily webinar until COVID was over. So for about a year, we did a daily webinar. Just
you were part of it, and I appreciate you.
That's right, yeah. Oh man, you're part of the family. So anything we do, you're welcome to. So we did it every day, and the first one was Matt because he's the GOAT. He's the greatest of all time. And I said, Matty, how are you dealing with COVID? He said, Johnny, it's pretty straightforward. He said, right now, pre-COVID, a week ago, I had 40 vendors. Then COVID hit. He said, I don't pay attention. I don't even know what it is, but they tell me that, it's causing some concern in the market. But he said, I don't look at it.
That's amazing.
I rang up all my 40 vendors and I said, hey, Nathan, do you still want to sell? I know this COVID thing's hanging around and a few people probably decide not to sell for the minute and others will. And he said 50% said, yeah, no, we still want to sell. We know it's scary times, but we still want to sell. And 50% said, Matt, you're right. I think we might wait and just sit this out for a while. Then he said he rang up, they were dealing with about 200 buyers actively every day in contact. And he got his team to ring the 200 buyers and say, Nate, just want to check, are you still wanting to buy right now or do you want to sit on the sidelines? And he said about 50% said, we'll buy, and the other half said, we'll sit on the sidelines. So Matt said, great team. Now we know these 20 vendors are still wanting to sell and these 100 buyers still want to buy. Go for it. Whereas a lot of other people, they came to me, they're saying, how can we convince someone to do this? And what happens when a buyer is hesitant? And I said, well, if a buyer's hesitant, just let them sit on the sideline and say to them, I'm here whenever you're ready, whenever it feels right. I'll be delighted to find you the home of your dreams. So you just let me know. I don't want to push you into something that doesn't feel comfortable or natural. And the same with the vendors. So that's called integrity selling. That's like, you're not here to, now you can help people make a decision. I get that. I know that vendors in choosing an agent and buyers in choosing a property, there's a little bit of inbuilt buyer nervousness or seller nervousness, but you just give them the information they need to make an informed choice. So, I just love Matt, and he's got a very simple approach to life, and that's an example of it. And he went about and he wrote about $7.5 million last year, which for most officers would be like, out of this world. But I'm talking about an individual here or a guy with a small team around him that, is basically a solo operator. So I think, what do you do to go from surviving? How do we wrap a bow around this, as you said so eloquently? What we do is we shift our paradigm. We realize that now is an amazing time to be in real estate. We do a personal audit. We have a think about what are the skills we need to be well best. And then if we're anything less than a 9.5, we need to work out what are the activities or what are the skills we need to brush up on. And we need to get really good at them. Yeah, and one of my favourite sayings, in the age of information, which we're in now, ignorance is a choice. So if you want to get great at negotiation, you go to a thing, this brand new thing called YouTube or the internet, and you punch in their negotiation tactics or how to master the art of negotiation, whatever you want to put in. You punch it in, there'll be about 4,000 videos and there'll be about 2 million articles, and you start reading them and you practice them. And then all of a sudden, if you do enough reading and enough practicing or enough watching of videos, and by the way, it's all free. Not all of it, but 99.9% of it's all free. And then you just hone up your skills. And so just do that. Adopt some useful beliefs. Useful belief being that chaos is the opportunity. There's never been a better time in real estate to grow your market share. Now is the time. Seize the day and go and do it. Polish up your skills. Work out where are you less than a 9.5, and just do that. So they're the things, and I know the other bit of this that you wanted to focus on, and I think they're two great topics, is how do I kind of launch into next year, finish this year?
A couple of questions just before. I know you got you're going to cover that up for me. I just want to talk to you about a couple of things, because you said a few things there which I want our audience or our friends who are listening to us watch this and see, because I just want to, you see, like chaos equals opportunity, because the reality is when the market is tougher, about probably 80% of the real estate agents going to struggle. They're probably going to leave the industry. What happened last time around in GFC, John, and you were around and I was around at the time, about 15 to 19% will do well. The 1 to 5% would actually smash it. They will come out the bitter at the other end, right? Now, the other thing that I want to talk about is, like, you always got this mentality, which is unfortunately here in New Zealand, it's this scarcity mentality. You've got this abundance mentality, the generosity, like, every time you there to help people. And I hope I am bringing that same mentality here to New Zealand. So we're sharing people like my mentors, like yourself, and I'm giving everything that I have to people. Just talk about that. Just if you double click on that for just a little bit.
Yeah. Well, look, it's a belief or a philosophy. My philosophy is life's pretty short. Why would you not, during your life, want to help as many people get ahead as you possibly can? Some of those will end up working for you. Some of those are currently working for you. Some of those may never work for you. But if it's a life philosophy of adding value, being generous, helping people, I think it's, people often talk, Nate, about karma. Some people believe in that, others don't. Some people talk about vibrations and the vortex that you create around yourself to attract positive things into it. Whatever you want to do, and you can be spiritual, you can be scientific, it doesn't really matter. But again, a belief, I think an empowering belief or a useful belief, as we talked about before, is the more people I serve and help, irrespective of who, the better my life will be. Now, what I didn't say was that the more vendors I close and the more people I help who are thinking of selling, the better my life will be. I just said the more people I help in the world, in any circumstance. So again, it's just an empowering belief. And the opposite is scarcity, which is, well, geez, if Nathan, he's across the road working for my opposition, if he's successful, I'm going to be unsuccessful. So I've got to work out ways to help him not be successful.
Yeah.
Whereas, Nathan and I can both be successful. It's a pretty big marketplace. Most of us work in a pretty big marketplace.
Yeah.
It's, the planet's pretty big. And if you are really good and you walk around and you've got a generous nature and an abundance mentality, you can earn more than a living, more than a small fortune. You can earn whatever you would like. And most people that I get to coach, I say, look, initially it may be about money. There's nothing wrong with wanting to pay your debts off.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing wrong with wanting to be financially free. Nothing wrong with wanting to buy some investments. Not even anything wrong with wanting to have a comfortable car or a second story on your house. That's all fine.
Mm-hmm.
But at some point, life moves, for most people, they evolve beyond that. Once you've got a second story on your house and you're comfortable and you've got a block of flats as an investment and a small share portfolio and some money in the bank and no debt, all good things, you kind of then say, well, what's the meaning of life? And I don't want to get too deep here, but surely the meaning of life is to help others. And by the way, not just your family and friends. I mean, it's even greater if you can help the wider community. And some people, let's call it the Nelson Mandelas of the world, they actually get to help the world become a better place, which is really the ultimate gift you can give yourself. So I think it's a mentality you've got to do. I don't think you turn the button on and off when you go to a listing presentation. Here's Nathan. Oh geez, I've heard that he's got a $3 million house in Christchurch to sell. So I'm going to be really charming to him, just in case that's true, so in case one day he's going to pick an agent. I think it's much easier to just walk around the world and walk around Christchurch having that same approach to everyone you meet.
I love that.
Whether they're a 19-year-old waitress, waiter or waitress, whether it's a truck driver or a bus driver or Uber driver nowadays, or whether it's your competition, doesn't really matter. Just have a good outlook on life, and anyone that you can do good for, do it.
I love that. I think you opened my eyes when I came out, because obviously I had a beautiful upbringing, I had a beautiful family, and obviously the integrity and things was ingrained in me. But when I got into real estate, nobody ever spoke about, unfortunately, about integrity. And when I came to Eric and I saw this guy stand in front of on stage and see about integrity and transparency, I had to reach out to you, man. It was like a man crash on the first love on first sight kind of thing.
I'm glad you did, bro, because we've had a great friendship and it's going to continue forever. You mentioned, I think you mentioned radical integrity or transparency. Ray Dalio, who is a guy I've mentioned to you before, has got a great book. So all your listeners, if you read a book called Principles by Ray Dalio, is the author, Dalio. I call him an author in a quote unquote because he's really a billionaire that runs a multi-billion-dollar hedge fund. But he's also an incredible thinker, and he talks about the future of the world is in radical integrity and radical transparency. And I buy into that. I believe it. I adhere to it. I love it. And it's interesting that in our industry, Nate, that you and I get frustrated from time to time about is you've got agents that can't tell a straight answer when someone says, what do you think it's worth? Or what do you think it's going to sell for? Like, it's not a particularly hard question to answer, by the way. And agents say, oh, well, it's early days. We've just started the campaign and it's really hard to tell. And it's a bit unique, but go and have a look at it. And if you're interested, sort of let me know. And we're having an auction in 3 weeks.
You tell me what it's worth.
Well, on one hand, you just say, Nate, there've been 3 sales in the street, and we think they're the best 3 comparables, number 2, 6, and 12. They went for $790, $810, and $823. So we certainly think in the high 7s to early 8s is where the interest is going to be. How do you, are you in that range? Because if you're not, I'd love to find you something else. If you're in that range, come and have a look at it, because I think it's a really cool home.
Better off, you've got price guides. Like, that's the one thing that we brought here to New Zealand. We put price guides on homes. Like, majority of the homes, 99% of homes that we sell. Well,
that's it, man. That's it. And look at, if I know this will be probably mainly industry people that listen, but if the general public listen, they would say, why, just remind me why it's hard for a real estate agent to tell the truth, and why don't they put price guides on? And the industry will tell you, well, like, you don't know what it's going to go for. Well, you shouldn't be in the industry if you don't have a clue. Now, of course, you can always surpass that. And in a way, that's our job. But if you know the comparables are 775 to 825, put them in print, put them on the website, or more the website nowadays. Let people know, give them the facts. Don't just tell them the price range, tell them the comparable sales, so they can do their own research, so they can turn up at the auction with confidence and better addressed, ready to go. So yeah, these are just simple things, man. We're talking about, like, this ain't rocket science. This is just tell the damn truth, look after your customers, do the right thing by anyone you meet.
Yeah.
Don't treat someone with $1 million listing better than you treat someone that's, renting a property for 200 a week, because you shouldn't, because they're all human beings. So it's kind of a life philosophy. But we should, before we run out of time, we should talk about how we finish this year strong and start next year strong, right?
Please, yeah, that'll be brilliant. Yeah, Johnny, and also
let's have a look at it. And again, this is stuff I've spoken to you, and you and I talk often about this stuff. Number one is never finish this, and so never start next year before you finish this year. What does that mean? We've still got a couple of weeks, a week or two, a couple of weeks. I think we've got till Christmas. It's probably somewhere between now and Christmas. You should find a quiet little spot and pour yourself a nice hot cappuccino and sit down with the blank pad and say, what have I learned this year? You should have all your results there. You should say, what are your KPIs, key performance indicators? What's your days on market? What was your average commission? What was your auction clearance rate? What's your average sale price? Just have a look at all the scorecard metrics that you want to look at and say, how do I feel about that? Well, my average days on market blew out from 21 to 48. And I was going to make an excuse about the market, but then I listened to this podcast and I thought, no, I lost the plot and I panicked and I wasn't communicating as honestly, and I was probably overpricing a few things because I was fearful of missing a listing. And just start taking extreme ownership around these things. And when you do that, magic happens, because then you say, well, how do I go back from 48 days on market to 21? Well, you need to learn a new skill, which is don't panic, don't live in fear, turn up well equipped to a vendor and learn the art of guiding them in the right direction on price without having them lose hope that you believe in the property and you are confident you'll get the premium price. But let's really look at the facts and figures to get started. Because I hear this all the time, Nate. People say, oh, well, John, but if I told the truth, I'll lose the listing. Well, firstly, don't lie to get a listing, because it's not worth it. If you can't tell the truth and still get the listing, you need to go back to listing school. And there shouldn't be a commission check or a dollar amount of the planet that would allow you to feel comfortable about telling a lie in a listing, or anywhere, by the way, to a buyer, to a seller. So first thing is, you've got to do a review of the year. We like calling it a personal and a business audit. So then what's the personal bit? Well, rate yourself on things, and I'll run through a list of them now so your listeners can maybe jot some down. You've got energy. What was your energy like, 0 to 10? Be honest. If you took a poll every day of what's your 0 to 10, what's your energy, what would the average have been throughout the year? Product knowledge. How well do you know your product? When people are asking you questions about the homes you're representing, about the architecture in your town, about the history of your town, about the neighborhood, about all those things, what's 0 to 10? How do you rate yourself? Then you look at the basics, which your prospect list sell. Give yourself a score around those. Then you look at some of the characteristics and skills like negotiation. 0 to 10. 10's the world's best negotiator. Where do you rate? What's your honest number? So then you're starting to build a bit of a profile. And if this was, physical in a doctor's room or an athletic gym, people would be taking heart rate, they'd be taking skin fold tests, they'd be taking your pulse and your temperature and all those things. I'm saying take the equivalent of those in your business, and then look at the things where you've underscored or you've underperformed, and then just work out. And again, in the age of information, ignorance is choice. So you say, geez, energy's down. Great. Punch into Google if you want. How do I increase my energy in sales? And there's probably going to be some cracking articles from world-class experts that cost you nothing to access that are going to help you get to the next level. Same with negotiation, same with listing. Tom Ferry, who's a great friend of ours, and you've met him at ARIC, and he's coming back to ARIC for the 25th anniversary next year, Nate, so he'll be fun. And he's got a lot of stuff online. I know you subscribe to being one of his customers, but He's got videos every week, world-class stuff, world-class interviews. Just go on, man. Don't worry. Just jump into it.
Yeah.
So, let's review the year. And let's really work out where we underperform, where were we on track, where were we off track, take extreme ownership, and then go towards what am I going to do, and then do the work. And by the way, I find the Christmas break is wonderful for this. Some people say, oh, well, you shouldn't be working over the break. I actually don't find personal development as work. If I'm really excited about my life and my career, and I want to be a master at negotiation, reading a book over Christmas on negotiation, in a banana lounge next to the pool, I don't think it's work for me anyway. You got to make your own decision about that. I think it's fun and it's pleasurable, and I get a buzz out of any personal growth activities. So here's the rundown on finishing the year strong and starting the year strong. If you list the number, and I was with Alex Jordan the other day, 18 new listings signed, ready to launch. He doesn't do auction. Ready to launch in the new year.
He's a legend.
So he's got 18 quality listings in the can, photographed, floor plans, copywritten, all ready to go. So when he sits down to Christmas lunch this year, so his turkey, he's going to know that he's got a hell of a start to the new year awaiting to when he comes back. Now, some people say, oh, it's a bit too late this year. And it may be. It's not too late, but it's probably too late to get 18, but you might pick up a couple between now and Christmas for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So if you start the year strong, and that doesn't matter whether you start the 7th of January or the 15th or the 25th, if you start the year strong, you will build momentum, which could potentially take you through all the year. Because if you have a strong January, you're going to have a strong February. A strong February, you're going to go through till Easter and so on and so forth, right throughout the year. So Dr. Fred taught us to park our car on the hill, metaphoric. So the concept was a lot of people come back to a holiday and they go into the cars at the bottom of the hill. They try and start it and the battery's gone and they're screwed. You park the car on the top of the hill, and if the battery's gone, you can kind of do a clutch start and you can get it going. And so what's the equivalent of that? The equivalent is coming back to a diary full of appointments with buyers and sellers the first week you're back, to have half a dozen or more quality listings, probably preferably auction for most areas, ready to go, ready to be advertised, to have a whole flock of signboards out in your community over the Christmas break. So people are seeing your name everywhere as they drive around in their shorts and T-shirt. They see, oh, shit, Nathan, God, that Najib's doing well. God, look at this. And all that's good. It's kind of like, it's good brand consolidation. By the way, I love your logo. I had a look the other day. I'd never studied it. It came through on the bottom of one of your emails. Very beautiful design. Who did the design for you?
Nice, I appreciate that. We've got actually one of our dear Aussie friends, Steve Osborne from Adelaide. He refined it for us. So no, I appreciate it. I'll get comments about that.
Beautiful. Oh, it's beautiful. Steve Osborne, Adelaide. There you go, an Aussie, one for the Aussies. We got one back.
Yeah.
He can't beat you on the rugby field, but we did a good design. That's really beautiful. It's just not very often. Funny enough, it's interesting aesthetically. Not very often do I stop and I admire a logo or a design and say, but I just saw it the other day. I thought it was very beautiful. Well done, you.
If I get a tick from you, Johnny, I know it's we've done well. So I appreciate you. Hey, also, I want you to tell me, like, because you're a dear friend now and a mentor, but I just wanted you to talk about the importance of having the right crowd in an office and having a mentor that kind of inspires you, can help you, can push you through good times and bad, and how important that is. I'm just curious because I know you got
So let's finish with that. Your environment is absolutely critical. Your environment at home, your environment with your friends, your environment at work. What does that mean? There's a physical environment, make sure you've got everything you need at work, in your desk, at home, in your car, or whatever, and nothing else. Then you've got your friends and your people environment. So the people in your life, your loved ones, your family, your best friends, your community, your office, your colleagues, all those things. Important that you have quality around you. Quality, habits and environment are critical. Inspiration can come and can fade for a little while until you get it back again. But habits and environment are kind of omnipresent. They're always around you. So I think it's a really good point you raise. that you want to be very careful what energy you let into your life and what energy you don't. So that can be, it's interesting, there was a guy on Australian TV, he's actually a friend of mine, he's a very decent guy, so it was very sad. Apparently he went to a Christmas function the other night and he'd had too much to drink and he said something inappropriate and he's just been sacked from the station, and he's a high profile guy, and he's probably, to be frank, he's probably lost his career, which is very, very sad. And I don't know what was said, but I understand it wasn't any physical activity. It was just an ill-considered phrase or comment that was made. And it was funny, I was talking to a friend of mine and he said, well, John, you know, as Tommy Panos always told us, if you don't want to slip over, don't hang out in slippery spots. And you know, it's a great phrase that if you don't want to eat junk food, you don't go down the junk food aisle when you hit the supermarket. When you go to Woolies or Coles or whoever you go to, you just got to make a bypass. If you have trouble behaving yourself and when you have alcohol, you don't go to the pub, you don't go to friends, whatever it is. So yeah, I think the environment you create, and of course the habits are so critical. I mean, simple one, brushing your teeth. You don't agonize over whether to do that. It's become, from when you're a very, very wee little kid through till now, one would hope that it's just something that you do robotically every night, every morning, and therefore you look after your dental hygiene. Well, prospecting needs to become like that. You don't think about it. You don't wrestle with yourself. Should I, shouldn't I do it? It's just like popping your pajamas on and brushing your teeth. You just do it when you get into work. The first hour of the day, you should do an hour of prospecting. Once you build that habit muscle, and it's just a muscle like any other physical muscle, once you build that, you start to see results. And just like going to the gym or playing another sport, when you see the results and you feel good about it, it moves from being a chore to being a pleasure. And prospecting as an example, and if you might rated yourself less than an 8 out of 10 on prospecting on that audit that I've asked you to do, you need to work out what are you doing wrong, because prospecting should be a pleasure. I see it's an opportunity to reconnect with my database or to inform and educate the community and the neighbourhood as a real estate expert in your neighbourhood as to what's happening in the market. And I just see that as a pleasurable experience. So if you're really finding it tough, you've got to work out why, because a lot of people, their view is, oh, I've got to do an hour worth of prospecting. I've got to ask, 30 people, do they want to sell their property? Well, not necessarily. You can just educate 30 people and say, Nathan, if you've got 30 seconds, just want to quickly call you. It's John McGrath from Najib Real Estate. Just wanted to let you know we're really proud that we sold one of your neighbours' homes during the week. We got a cracker of a result. Lovely family from Queenstown have just moved here, and we sold it for 1.8 million at auction. The reserve was 1,650. So we're very excited for our clients. But we also think the buyers have bought a wonderful home, so we're pleased for them as well. Nathan, the reason for the call is I just like to let everyone in the neighbourhood know what's happening. And I'm also just checking in at this festive time of year to see if anyone that I'm speaking to is thinking of doing anything with regard to buying or selling more property next year. Is there anything we can help you with? That's a 20-second intro that's either going to have someone say, wow, good price, well done, interesting, look, I'm fine, thank you, but I appreciate. Or someone's going to say, well, yeah, we were just talking at the dinner table and we were going to sell, but we thought it was such a crappy market, there'd be no point in doing that. So then you're into a conversation about whether the market's crappy or not.
Yeah.
So you've just got to turn these things from what you might see as a chore into, we get to prospect, we don't have to prospect.
But that script that you just said, it was like a brilliant script that you said. We should go back and re-listen to that script you just said, because it's absolutely amazing, spot on script that people can use. But a lot of people like John also, they've got an environment that nobody prospects. They go to have coffees, they like part-time agents. Like how do you overcome that when the environment is kind of toxic? Like nobody prospects, for example. Like what do you do?
You realise that anyone else, what they do or don't do is none of your business and irrelevant to your success. You can pop on headphones, you can make your prospecting calls from the boardroom, you can walk around the block with earphones in and make calls, you can spend an hour at home in the morning before you come to work. None of it matters when you realise that the inner market is the only thing that matters and you control 100% of the inner market. So those people say to me, well, but what if my colleagues come and talk to me? Pop some headphones on and they probably won't.
That's right, yeah.
If someone sees someone on the phone and staring at a screen with headphones on, especially if you're moving your lips and talking, they ain't gonna knock you on the shoulder and say, yeah, let's go for a coffee.
Yeah.
So you do that. I've got some colleagues in our business that have put a sign on saying, I'm currently prospecting. I
That's what
appreciate. There you go. So yeah, that's just a good thing. That's taking control and extreme ownership.
Yeah.
The person that doesn't have control says, oh, I can't prospect, John, because no one else prospects. And every time I try and prospect, everyone says to me, come down the road for a coffee. Well, guess what? You can say no. You can prospect from home. You can do any number of things if you are prepared to live in the world of the inner market and dump excuses and just take extreme ownership of your results and your activities.
Yeah.
Is that helpful for your listeners?
I agree. It is doable. It's harder for sure, no question about it, but it is doable. Like you said, you put a sign. Like I used to work in this other office where I used to work many years ago, and I used to have a sign: prospecting progress, do not disturb. So you can certainly do that for sure.
But even look, what are your choices? Well, as I've said, you can work from home, etc., etc. You can change brands. You can have a conversation with the people that keep annoying you, saying, "Hey, Nate, I really love it when we catch up at lunchtime for a sandwich, but between 8 and 12:30 lunchtime, I'm fully focused, man. I hope you respect that because I want to build a success pathway for my family, and I'm really committed to that." And then someone else can say, "Well, go and get stuffed. I don't like that." That's fine, but I'll guarantee you they ain't going to start annoying you. So again, just realize and stop telling the story. And, even I'll challenge you a bit around, well, it's really that hard. It's just what it is. Yeah. You are either in an environment, a temple of productivity, as we like to call it right now, or you're not. If you're not, what are you doing to help create it? You could rise at the next sales meeting saying, guys, I've had this idea. I've noticed our figures are a bit down on where I reckon they should be. You can agree or disagree, but I'm going to come in every morning at 8:30 and I'm going to have a 1 hour session of calling. Anyone wants to join me, just give me a coffee order. I'll pick up the coffees on the way into the office down the road and I'll do them, and let's enjoy it and do it together. It's far more pleasurable, by the way, if you do it together. It's really good fun. And so just get to the useful belief that says you can create, no matter where you are, an environment which is conducive to productivity, but you're going to have to change some stuff. And as I said, worst case, do your first hour from home. Yeah. It takes me about half an hour to get into work in the mornings. So rather than begrudging that or the traffic, I just have my list of calls that I want to make, and I just go through one by one and make the calls. And again, it's a pleasurable activity. Once upon a time, I guarantee I probably would have been frustrated by the commute, the delay, and the traffic. Now I don't care because I'm making calls and I'm productive. So I think you've just got to, as I said before, it's not about you have to prospect, it's you get to prospect. What a joy to be able to educate your community about the good results you've been able to obtain for your clients, and just check if there's anything you can do for them. And it's not heavy-handed. Again, if you rewind back to the little role play that I've made up on the spot, it's about genuinely wanting to help people. It's about letting them know the purpose of the call. It's about giving them some information that they'll probably find useful. And then it's just checking in, while I've got you on the phone, is there anything that you guys are thinking of doing? Because interestingly enough, a lot of my really what I'd call smart money clients are now starting to invest back in the market because they've made the decision they think the market's bottomed out. So it's possible that, and you might say, then the client might say to you or the person on the call, Nate, buying now, God, I would have thought it's the worst time to buy. Well, as Warren Buffett says, the best time to buy is when everyone's fearful, and the best time to sell is when everyone's greedy. And right now, there's enough fearfulness around that suggests that we think if you buy for the mid to long-term cycle, you are going to do brilliantly well in the Christchurch market. Is that something you would consider? And there's a lot of people that would say, well, I do have some cash set aside. I was just going to wait until the market got better. But I can hear your logic that don't wait until the market gets better necessarily. You can if you like, by the way. It's up to you. But, maybe now's the time to buy. We know the market's going to get better. I'm not sure exactly where your market's at, Nate. We haven't spoken for a little bit about this, but I think the Australian market, as example, I think we are either just past the bottom, at the bottom, or about to hit the bottom. So I think, history will tell us sometime between the end of 22 and the middle of 23, we saw the bottom of the market.
Yeah.
And you can't time it to the month or the day because it's just impossible.
Yeah.
So you may as well, if I was talking to a friend now and they said, do you think I should hold off? I'm saying, what for? Oh, in case it gets worse. Man, it's come down 15, 18%. Ain't getting much worse.
No.
Historically, it's about as bad as it gets. So, yeah, I'd pin my ears back and I'd buy right now if I were you. If that's what you believe. It's not a sales
we are, because you probably a little bit ahead of us. We probably about 10% down, perhaps slightly more to go down, 10 maybe 15% more. I'm suggesting, but it's about 6 more months, and then we're on the way, 6 to 12 months, and then we're on the way back. So it is, it's hard to time exactly the bottom of the market, but I suppose, like you said, buy when people are scared and sell when people are greedy. No question about it. Mentorship. I'll let you go in about 2 minutes, Johnny. I know you've got to go.
So here's my view: is there are educators, there are mentors, there are inspirational people all around. Some you might get the opportunity to know and become friends, as we have. Others you'll have to be mentored from afar. Like Steve Jobs, I never had the pleasure of meeting him. I would have loved to. But I kind of saw him as a virtual mentor for me because I read books about him. I listened to cassette tapes in those days. I watched videos. So I think you've got to sort of work out who do you resonate with. There are great people in your life. Some of them are grandparents. Some of them are professional business coaches. Some of them are sales managers or principals. I think that it is invaluable if you can find at least one person that you can have in your corner to go to run ideas past, or if you're flat, or if you've hit a bad spot. I think it's a brilliant thing to do. If you have to pay for them, you have to pay for them, but sometimes you don't. The world's best athletes, the elite athletes, the runners, the footballers, the basketballers, the rugby players, they all have full-time coaches, either individually or as a small group or team. So I think it's essential. I think, again, extreme ownership. Don't use the excuse of I don't have anyone like that in my life. Find them. As I said, create a virtual mentor. There's plenty of, excuse my little dash sounds, they're a bit noisy, but
Janisha, my ear has got exactly the same. Well, I forgot your dog's name. What's his name?
Schnitzel and Pickle. Schnitzel.
Janisha, do you want to meet?
He's just cranky because the other one's trying to take her bone off.
It's Kelly. It's Kelly at home.
Kelly's back in 5 minutes, but I'll go and settle them down. But yeah, look, no, I think mentoring and peer partners are brilliant. If you can't find a wise mentor, just find someone in your office that's in a similar stage of life and say, hey, Nate, why don't we do one-on-one role playing? Why don't we do half an hour every morning for the next 30 days?
Yeah.
Every business day. Let's turn up. You be vendor, I'll be buyer, and then we'll swap around and you give me objections and see how I handle them and we discuss it. I mean, seriously, there is no excuse for anything less than brilliance in this time that we live in.
100%. And
Nate, by the way, I think this is audio, not video. I must say, you are the best dressed agent I've ever seen. You look $1 million.
Okay.
And I think it's the end of your day, so it's not like you're even crisp and early. This is kind of evening for you, isn't it? It's 7 o'clock. Dinner time.
It is 6 p.m. I got dressed in 3-piece suit just for you, Johnny.
It's great to see you. Look, just to all your listeners, because I know that a lot of people follow you, and I really am proud of what you're doing and your team are doing in the New Zealand market. But just wish everyone have a great Christmas. Really come out of the blocks fast in 23 because it's an incredible opportunity. And I hope some of them will. I know we'll see some of them at ARIC because a lot of Kiwis make the trek up to the Gold Coast. I think you can fly in direct now, and they pop up there and spend a couple of amazing days. Some of the smarter ones even pop another extra couple of days on the end so they can relax and unwind and have a swim and think about all the stuff they've learned. So that, that's one of the better strategies I've seen is don't race back. See if you can add a couple of days onto ARIC and just use that time to decompress and to think about what you've learned. And some officers are doing it now as a group. They're staying behind and hiring a room the next day. And what did we learn? Yeah. So, yeah, we love the Kiwis. We're so close to you guys. You're a dear friend. And I'm going to see you in January when you come across, and we're going to have a couple of great days together learning some stuff.
We look forward. We've got a couple of few of my team members coming across, obviously, on January. But in Eric, obviously, the whole team is coming here and coming to Eric. Like, we're talking about mentorship, right? And everybody, including yourself, obviously, you were the first guy that I met through Eric, and you were kind enough to catch up with me, and like, obviously now friends. It'll be, if you think you can't find a mentor, you're crazy, because there's good people everywhere. You just need to send them an email. Obviously, attend Eric, and it's like they're full of amazing people.
You have a great Christmas, my friend. I love our friendship, and I'm looking forward to building on it next year. And to your team, I know you've got a wonderful team. Thank them for all the good work they've done, and congratulate them. And I will look forward to seeing you in early 23, man.
Merry Christmas to you and the McGrath family, and say hello to Kelly for me. I look forward to seeing you on I think mid-January. We're booked to catch up. Look forward to seeing you, Johnny. I appreciate you.